Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at Typhenie Kae Johnson. She's listed as endangered, missing since 2016 in Euless, Texas. She was born in 1991. She was 25 years old. She was a black African female, 5'4", 125 to 135 pounds. Her hair was like red auburn, middle of the back, sometimes in a bun. Eye color brown, nicknamed Tiff or Pippi. It says she has a scar on her chin and one on the middle of her forehead, a tattoo of an anchor on her left shoulder, one of a heart on top of her right foot, one of the word faith inside of her left wrist, one of a feather on her right upper arm. Both ears are pierced, and her nose, tongue, and belly button are pierced. She had a miscarriage 3 or 4 months before she went missing. She had a pink shirt, black and white pants, one black ankle sock. Typhenie was last seen, and there's the address. And I'm going to read more about this on a different website, so you can pause that to read it if you want to. And there's who you contact. You can, if you know anything, even if you think it's not important, if you know anything, you should contact the police and let them know. So here's a lot of pictures over on the Charlie Project, and they seem to have more information. And there's a vehicle it was accounted for. It says she's a biracial African-American Caucasian female with brown hair, brown eyes, brown red hair. Johnson's nicknames are Pippi and Tiff. She has a scar on her chin, a scar in the middle of her forehead. Her ears, nose, and tongue and navel are pierced. She has the following tattoos: an anchor on her left shoulder, a feather on the back of her upper arm, left arm, a large partial half sleeve of her upper left arm, an arrow on the inside of her. You can see the pictures. I don't want to read it all. You can pause it to read some more. It's very upsetting, the whole thing. The details of the case. She was last seen outside of Post Oak East Apartments in the 13900 block of Tristan Lane in Euless, Texas at 9 p.m. October 10th, 2016. Christopher Revill, I don't know, that's not a complete sentence. I don't know what that's supposed to say. Anyway, she had dated, there was Christopher Revill was there at the time, and she had dated him for approximately 8 months, but in August she told him she needed a break, and he continued to visit her over, and she said, and even said he wanted to marry her in spite of her repeated attempts to tell him that their relationship was over. A photograph of him is posted in the case summary. On the night she disappeared, she was spending time with her twin brother and his girlfriend and planned to have a male friend come over. But Revill came over uninvited. She went outside with him to talk in the parking lot near her car and tell him again that she didn't want to see him anymore. She apparently didn't intend to be gone long, as she left her shoes behind at the apartment. Johnson's brother and his girlfriend could see them from the balcony and hear parts of their conversation. While Johnson was talking to Revill, her guests came to the parking lot to check on her, but Johnson told them to go back inside. He waited in the apartment with the others and continued to keep an eye on them from the balcony. But about 20 minutes into the discussion, Johnson and Revill moved to the side of the building out of sight. 20 minutes after this, Revill came back to the apartment alone. He stated he and Johnson argued and she got into a vehicle driven by someone he didn't know and rode away. He then left. Johnson's brother tried to call her cellular phone, but she didn't answer, so he went outside to look for her. And he had said something about, oh yeah, it'll say right here. He saw Revill's white 2003 Ford Taurus backed up onto the grass next to the building with the trunk lid open, and Revill was standing there looking inside. Johnson's brother was afraid to approach Revill, but watched him close the trunk and the car doors and drive away. Then he walked to the spot where Revill had been parked and found his sister's phone, her car keys, and one of her socks. Nearby was Johnson's car with her keys lying on top of it. Her brother called Revill and demanded he return, and Revill said, "It sounds like you're blaming me for something." 15 minutes later, Johnson's brother's girlfriend called the police. When they arrived, her brother called Revill again and got the police on the phone, and they told Revill to return to the apartment. When Revill returned about 25 minutes later, he was alone and sweating profusely in spite of the cool weather outside. It had been about 90 minutes since Johnson's disappearance. The police arrested him. They impounded his car and searched the home he shared with his parents, which was 20 to 25 minutes away. In Revill's home, they found a bra with the clasp stretched out straight, a Fitbit watch with a broken clasp, and the shirt that Johnson was wearing the night of her disappearance. There was no blood found in the grassy area where his car had been parked, although police did match the tire tracks there to the car. None of Johnson's DNA was found in his trunk. The next day, Revill was charged with aggravated kidnapping with the intent. So you know who did it. With the intent to terrorize in Johnson's case. The charge was later upgraded to kidnapping with the intent to kill. And maybe they got in a fight and something happened. I don't know. I would think if she was alive and well, she would have been there. And with him looking in the trunk, it sounds like something terrible happened. Revill has a criminal record for burglary, assault, marijuana possession, and aggravated robbery, and he was on parole at the time of Johnson's disappearance. He was also the last person known to have seen Taalibah Islam, who disappeared from Fort Worth, Texas. In 2006, she had been dating him at the time, and they had a baby son who was subsequently raised by Islam's sister. Johnson was unaware of Revill's son's existence. After Islam's disappearance, he dropped off their child with one of her relatives. His explanation for her disappearance was the same as it was for Johnson's. He claimed they had an argument and she got into the car with someone he didn't know and left. He hasn't been charged with Islam's disappearance. In August 2019, after 2 days jury deliberations, Revill was convicted of Johnson's kidnapping. At his sentence hearing, evidence about Islam's case was introduced. He was sentenced to life in prison. He will not be eligible for parole until 2046. Authorities believe Johnson was murdered. A private investigator who looked into the case believes her body is somewhere near her apartment complex. When police impounded the car, they found plant stickers in his tires and leaves on the floorboards, suggesting he had recently driven through grass or brush. Her body has never been found, which is very horrific. And he's in prison, it says. So, yeah. And it shows he's got different charges. So, that's pretty horrific. So, they haven't found her body. And I just think this is just very sad, and this is the other person who had dated him that went missing, and look how beautiful she was. 5'11", 20 years old. Said she was 130 to 140 pounds, and what she was wearing, and she's never been heard from again. And he was the last person to see her, and they had a child, so their relationship was abusive. A police officer testified that in 2005. While she was 9 months pregnant with his child, he punched her in the stomach and head. At one point, Islam got a restraining order against him, but they continued to see each other. On the day of their disappearance, she took their son to his house so he could spend time with the baby. Revill's sister would later state that her brother got into an argument with her and punched her. And Islam said, "I think you broke my jaw." She called her best friend and said she was at Revill's house and asked to be picked up. She's never been heard from again. So, and you can read more about that. A week after, Revill contacted Islam's sister and said she had left their baby with him and hadn't returned and he couldn't take care of him. So, initially they assumed Islam was all right and had just gone off on her own, as she sometimes did after arguments, but they became increasingly concerned when she didn't come home or contact anybody. They didn't think she would abandon her child. And 16 days later, he reported her missing, stated she had come to the house to drop off their son and left and got into some car. So you would think that probably... Yeah, he was indicted for aggravating, I'm not reading all this, you can read it though. He was indicted for aggravating kidnapping with intent to terrorize. The charge was later upgraded to kidnapping with intent to kill. In August 2019, after 2 days jury he was convicted of Johnson's kidnapping. That was the other girl, so, well, they believe that, yep, Anyway, it's pretty sad, pretty sad, pretty sad. And if you have any information about him or these people or anything like that, you heard something, you live nearby, you dated the man in the past, something. If you have him, you saw anything, you might know where the bodies are, anything that even if you feel like it's small and insignificant, you should contact the authorities and let them know because the case remains open and it's very sad. So anyway, I thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Please feel free to leave comments. Have a great day. Bye bye.